The novel I'm reading for the 6 weeks and this project is A Lesson Before Dying by Ernest J. Gaines. It was published in 1993 and its genre is fiction. A quick summary of this novel is a 16-year-old colored boy getting sentenced to execution because he was caught in a robbery of a liquor store, and two people ended up being killed, and they automatically thought it was him, even without any evidence or proof, because he was just there, and the white people automatically think that they were up to trouble and everything. And basically, the rest of the novel is Jefferson's teacher, Grant Wiggins, visiting him in the jail and trying to change him from a hog, as the white people called him, to a man, which is what Jefferson's grandmother, Miss Emma, wanted. We see the developmental change of both Grant and Jefferson as characters and how this all plays out before the day of his execution. Okay. What is the most important event in your life and how did it change you?
Yeah. The most important event in my life is having to visit Jefferson in the jail and trying to change him for his grandmother's sake. At first, I was quite reluctant because I had no clue how I was supposed to change someone from being what the white man called him, a hog, to a man. All I did was go and speak with him and his grandmother, Miss Emma. She would always bring him food and try to converse with him, but he would only stare at the gray cement wall or ceiling, but not seeing it. He was always silent. When he started to get aggravated, he'd talk back and say since he was an old hog, he wasn't hungry, he didn't care, he didn't have love, etc. Then his grandmother got sick, and I visited him by myself. And that's when him and I truly became friends. It touched me deeply. He told me how I wanted his last meal to be a gallon of ice cream and that he wished he could listen to music. I bought him a radio that he ended up playing all day and night because the music distracted him from the depressing and painful thoughts he faces. Jefferson was incredibly strong and a hero to me. He accepted his fate of execution because he was caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. But it's applied because the whites only cared that he was black and there was no other explanation. Jefferson began to write for me and share his thoughts, which was a huge step, and I found that he was emotional towards me as well. The day of his execution, the Friday after Lent between noon and 3, was the most melancholy and saddening days for the black community. The worst part was that it would not be the last of his type event. However, Jefferson was the strongest, bravest man in the room, and he walked into the chair like the man he was, not crawling like the hog whites wanted him to be.
If you were to stop what you were doing and go get a new job, what kind of job would you want and why?
I truly hate my job. I hate that my education has only taught me to be a teacher of the colored schools, which were absurdly underpaid and had insufficient supplies. The children cannot learn how they need to, and even if they do, the whites feel intimidated and angry when colored people talk or act properly because they don't feel as superior. But in the South, there aren't any better jobs than to teach. However, I did learn a lot and help in the prison, but you cannot grow close to inmates or they'll constantly eat you alive, and that you have to see them suffer. I'd honestly want to move somewhere far from here to have a real life with Vivian, and my education could be used as a professor for everyone and of higher standards.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I want to run away with Vivian and start a life together. We're going to be together forever because all I know is love. We are going to be together forever because all I know is I love her more than anything. Her beautiful smile, her stunning personality, her amazing curves. Everything about her is perfect. Being stuck in bio means no true life, no freedom. I'm not alive here. I'm not happy here. How can I want something that I've never experienced? All I know is I cannot be alive and live here. And Vivian and I will eventually be able to truly be together once we leave. I also hope I can have some job as a professor with prestige or working with Vivian instead because being a grade teacher in the racist South is sheer misery.
What would your friends and or family say about you?
My family and family friends, including Reverend Ambrose, would tell me that I lack faith and hope because I stopped going to church. Reverend thinks I'm not educated at all, regardless of attending college and becoming an instructor, because I don't believe in heaven and being so religious. And he hated that I connected and had the ability to change Jefferson because I did it without prayer, talking about God and the afterlife. On things that I tend to be overruling and disrespectful because I like to do things for myself, or that at first I didn't want to intrude on Jefferson's life in prison. She also thinks that this is because I stopped attending church. I don't have too many friends, but Vivian can vouch that I tend to get heated and violent at times, much like at the bar when a few mulattoes were talking horribly about Jefferson and I started to fight. She was disgusted and disappointed that I couldn't keep my cool, and leave the matter alone. But I'm stubborn and stand up for what I believe in. And the time and place we live, those aren't good traits. She does know, however, that I do anything for her, and nothing matters more to me than having her in my life. I'm also passionate and deeply in love with Vivian.
In your opinion, what are your strengths and weaknesses?
I'd say that strengths of mine are my mathematical and arithmetic abilities that I learned in college. However, the whites expected us colored folk to be stupid and proper like an animal. To show too much intelligence would be an insult to them, but a lack of intelligence would have been a greater insult to myself. I also think that being able to connect and reach Jefferson as a relationship is a strength I will never forget, and I'm so grateful could help find some peace and calmness for his last few weeks. I don't really think that is much of a weakness, but my lack of faith has got me in trouble with my family and people like Reverend Ambrose because they think you are nothing without God. I do think being stubborn and going against expectations of the whites is a weakness, only because the whites hate and will not allow feeling any inferiority from a colored person. My violence from not being able to control myself has gotten me in violent fights and disputes with Vivian, which is definitely a weakness. Vivian is all I care about, which is the reason I continue to see Jefferson and started to care for him. We'd gotten into a huge fight about love and that if I wouldn't quit, she'd be visiting me at the graveyard. I hate to see Vivian upset, and if I'm the cause, I cannot let myself continue to act that way.
I think this is a really great book because it shows us how, even though this was fictional in the 1940s, the segregation and the way that white people treated colored people was absolutely awful. And that even when slavery ended, that didn't go away. They were still treated like total animals, and it wasn't fair. They were put in different bathrooms, different schools, different water fountains. It was endless, and they couldn't ride the same transportation. And even if we're in 2018 right now, people still act like they're superior to other people, even though we're all humans, and color shouldn't be a factor in that. But that's what this book shows us, and it shows a tragic story of this boy who, just because of his color, gets sentenced to die. And it's really terrible. And this was an emotional book for me to read. It was really upsetting how people could talk to another human like that. The things they said, the way they treated them, the way they acted superior to them. Like, this is still a problem today because people go around acting like they can say certain things and act certain ways, and they don't think it's a big deal because they're like, oh, you know, it's not like there anymore. Like, this isn't really real right now. And it is. It's still prevalent. Like, people's grandparents grew up in this, and we have to realize it's disrespectful. It's not our place to talk like that, and we are all equal, and that's what this book really shows us, is how you need to treat people equally, and you can't go around acting like being segregated still doesn't exist, because people will always act like they're superior if they don't get put in their place. And that's what I think Ernest J. Gaines did a really great job of portraying that through this novel, of how a change of character brought Grant to see how he could transform someone from feeling so inferior because a bunch of white people told him he was. And Jefferson was so much different of a character before he died, and I think it was better for Grant to know that he did that change to someone. And that's what I think people our age really need to understand. As us becoming adults, we need to realize this is still prevalent, this is still a big issue, and it's not going to go away. And that's what this book shows us, is how to treat people equally and why it's so important.
In hope, because that's stupid. Stop. Okay. See, okay. Learn how. Sorry. The children cannot move. Edit this right out. Edit out. Okay.
Just started the sentence again. Why'd you start talking? You started mumbling. And you said,
The one thing. They always trying to bring you down.
You're right. Okay, what's next? What is this? Why people? The overall growth of. I just said that.
I just said that.
Okay, I don't even remember what I was saying. The novel I'm reading for this.
I sat here.
Okay.
I'll sit over here, make you feel better.
Okay.